Well, back to another Battlefield 6 beta benchmark video, and this time on the RTX 3080 Ti gigabyte version of the card, pairing it up with the 9800X3D and 64 GB of DDR5 memory running at 6000 MHz as usual. Okay, since I was recording the benchmark on the RTX 2080 previously to this video, I left the Afterburner overlay name as 2080. So that's why it's gonna look like this throughout the benchmark. So if you guys want to check out the 2080 benchmark, it's going to be up here. But yeah, I just got to get that out of the way. Okay, I just forgot to change the name to 3080 Ti in the Afterburner monitoring software. So yeah, now let's jump into the actual benchmark. Alright, starting things off on native ultra settings on 4K, because why not? The 3080 Ti is really capable of 4K in this game. So I'm like, yeah, why the hell not? But instead of going DLAA, I was going TAA this time. You know, I don't think DLAA matters on 4K settings anyways. So yeah, going TAA. Getting 53 FPS, you can see, is utilizing 10 GB of VRAM. I thought it was going to be more than that. I thought it was going to max out the GPU, but we have 2 GB left in the tank, but still getting close to 60 FPS. See, this is a really well optimized game. It's like able to play these games like on ultra settings with all this chaos going on, you know, pretty solid. So now let's try without any anti-aliasing. Yeah, that is an option in this game. I didn't realize until I tested the game out on the 3080 Ti. In the previous benchmarks, I didn't know that was a thing. So, yeah, it gives you maybe like a slightly few more FPS compared to TAA, but from 54 or something to 58 to 60 FPS though. I mean, you can just turn anti-aliasing completely off and have a really good experience with the 3080 Ti on 4K. Like, you don't need any anti-aliasing on 4K to be honest. Okay, now moving on to DLAA and see how it is. You know, just checking out DLAA as well, because we already checked out TAA and no anti-aliasing, so why not check out DLAA? And of course, it's gonna take out some of our FPS that we got without any anti-aliasing. So we are down to 50 and even going down below 50 in some areas. So yeah, but the visuals are much more sharper than TAA. Yeah, I just prefer going without any anti-aliasing or just TAA on 4K. Alright, that's all the native settings test. Now let's move on to DLSS quality on ultra settings. So that actually works decently, I guess. So from getting barely 60 FPS, we are getting 68 to 70 FPS. So that's a good sign. The DLSS quality is actually working. And some of the GPUs I've tested, like in the 2080, DLSS quality wasn't working. Actually, it made the game even worse. So in the 3080 Ti, it seems to be working. So that's a good sign. I don't know why in some GPUs it doesn't work as intended. So it's good to see it's working here. Okay, now let's go to DLSS performance. See if that gives us some boost. And it actually does give us a little bit boost. So from 60 to 70, we're getting 70 to 80. So that's pretty cool. So DLSS performance in 4K means we are on 1080p quality. I mean 1080p upscale to 4K. So not the biggest jump, but you can see the 9800X3D is at 45% usage. And the temperatures is also going up, 73 degrees Celsius. It's not that bad yet. And the room temperature was around 25 degrees Celsius, so you know, it was pretty warm in the room. Now time for bumping the graphics down to high and going DLAA. So DLAA high settings, we are getting 55, like in the 50 FPS range. And which is similar to TAA on Ultra. We're getting those kind of FPS. It's even dropping down below 50 in some areas. So not terrible, but something that I expected from the 3080 Ti on high settings. You know, I actually did not expect to even get 50 FPS on these settings, but here we are, pretty decent. Alright, now let's move on to TAA high and see if we can get some more additional FPS over DLAA, but unfortunately not. Seems like we're getting pretty much the same or similar kind of performance as DLAA. I don't know why. This is the thing, like some of these settings, they don't work as intended sometimes. So I think it's going to be fixed in the actual full game. So let's wait and see how that's going to go. I'll be doing another benchmark when the full game comes out on pretty much all of these graphics cards, so keep subscribed for that. But yeah, TAA doesn't seem to improve anything much over DLAA or high settings. But in the other map, with the big open area, with the mountains and stuff, it seems to be better, you know, getting close to 70 FPS instead of just 50 to 60 FPS. So it depends on the map as well. In the other previous map with a lot of buildings and rubbles in the environment, seems to be getting lesser FPS compared to this map, you know. So I think it depends on each map as well. So this map seems to be much more smoother compared to the previous one. So there's that. This is high settings and TAA. And now let's move on to DLSS performance on high settings. I didn't want to go in between settings because I don't think it's going to get us 100 FPS or anything. So even on DLSS performance high settings, you're not getting 100 FPS. So we are closing to 90 FPS, which is still pretty good. And yeah, on DLSS performance, like really good playing experience for a game like this. And the visuals are still really sharp. I don't see any blurriness or anything going on. And this is 4K. This game is like really sharp. So I got no complaints at all on these settings. And it's a really playable experience on high DLSS performance. Okay, now moving on to medium settings on TAA and de-aliasing. See how that goes. And we are getting like the similar kind of performance that we got just previously with DLSS performance on high settings. The game doesn't lose any graphical fidelity from what I can see. It looks pretty much the same, you know, maybe a little bit of particle effects, but it's like barely noticeable. The game still looks like it's on high settings, to be honest. So native TAA on medium settings, the game still works really well. So yeah, good experience on the settings as well. Not a big jump in performance, but it's not bad. Alright, now let's try on DLSS performance medium and see if that makes a big difference or not. And as you guys can see, it's using about 44% of the 9800X3D here. So it's utilizing more of the CPU power right here because it's performance mode, even though it's on 4K. We're getting close to 100 FPS here and there, sometimes even more than 100 FPS. So that's pretty good to see. And I gotta be honest, I was getting my ass beat, like left and right. I just spawn in and die, spawn in and die. There was a ton of snipers in this map, as you expected. But usually I'm able to deal with snipers, but in this particular game, I was getting my ass beat. Those guys were like really good. I was getting headshot left and right, so it was a terrible game for me. But yeah, they're getting more than 100 FPS on these settings. Alright, moving down to low settings on TAA, which gives us almost kind of a similar performance to DLSS performance medium, as we're getting 80 plus FPS pretty much all the time. And now you can see the 9000X3D is less stressed because it's native settings. So the 3080 Ti is in full force right now. And yeah, still getting my ass beat by these snipers, which is not looking good for me. But the performance is looking pretty good. Okay, now finally on 4K, let's try on DLSS Ultra Performance. And this is the lowest setting you can go on DLSS, on 4K. You're getting close to 120 FPS. So that's pretty good. That's that's a high refresh rate experience on 4K with the 3080 Ti. And we're using almost 9 GB of VRAM. And you can see the CPU temp is ramping up. It's closing a 75 to 76 degrees Celsius. Getting really into that warmer stage for CPU. So yeah, that means it's working really hard, you know, even though it says 46%, And yeah, the room temperature was kind of high too. So that's one more thing. And the GPU is using 330 watts of power. That's crazy. You know, this card is like really power hungry as well. So getting really good performance. I mean, on ultra performance, the game still looks pretty good. Not gonna lie, it looks sharp on a 4K monitor. So yeah, good performance on low settings. That's 4K. Now let's move on to 1440p. Okay, 1440p is the recommended settings that I would go for with the 3080 Ti on any game, because it only has 12 GB of VRAM. Even though you can go 4K just like absolutely fine. Just saw it. So we are on 1440p TAA ultra settings, getting 90 FPS, pretty solid. But you can see the 9000X3D is getting cooked again. It's like almost 75 degrees Celsius. And you're using 340 watts of power and almost 9 GB of VRAM again. And we're getting pretty solid FPS on this new map. This new map available on beta, Empire State. And I kind of like this map. It's a pretty well made map. It's a lot of close quarters environments, which gives you like a really tight gunfights scenarios. So I appreciate it. I wish it could be like a little bit more bigger with, you know, where we could just use tanks and stuff, but unfortunately that's not the case. It's like only on foot combat. So yeah, that's the only downside I could see in this map, but yeah, that's besides the point. Getting pretty solid FPS on ultra settings without doing any upscaling, so that's pretty good. Okay, now moving on to ultra DLSS performance. Yeah, we're skipping everything else in between, because you know, we just need to get better FPS. We're getting pretty much high refresh rate experience with on ultra settings with DLSS performance. Even getting close to 130 FPS from in some areas. That's pretty cool. And the CPU temp is going really high right now because it's DLSS performance, and it's a really CPU intensive game. So make sure your 9800X3D is well cooled. You know, I'm using a 2-fan cooler by NCXT. That's probably why it's getting really cooked, because this is the first time it's happening in any game with the 9000X3D. It doesn't go usually above 75. It's the first time it's ever doing this in this game, because you know, it's just cooking the CPU at this point. But we're getting pretty solid FPS on ultra settings on 1440p. That's what matters. Alright, so yeah, 1440p is the way to go. Okay, now from ultra, let's go to medium TAA. Okay, I'm just gonna test out TAA. We're not gonna even go to DLAA at this point. So we need more FPS, so TAA is the way to go. And TAA medium settings, you're getting 120 FPS of bet. So closer to ultra settings with performance mode. And that's a good sight to see. So on native settings, you can actually get 100 plus FPS. But I gotta say, it's a little bit blurry on the edges compared to 4K settings. Because it's 4K, it's obviously going to be much more sharper on a higher resolution. So on 1440p, the TAA is a slight blurrier, but it's not going to take away any experience. It still looks pretty crispy, don't get me wrong, okay? So solid experience on medium TAA. Alright, now let's try DLSS performance medium. And getting 130 plus FPS on performance medium. So high refresh rate experience right there. And you can see some artifacting because of the DLSS performance mode. And yes, the game doesn't have implemented a perfect DLSS system in the beta, so they gotta fix it, because sometimes the DLSS modes do work as intended, but sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes you even lose some FPS. So I don't know why that is going on. And I think it was like 2 days ago, there was a DLSS bug. So there's a lot of things that's going on with the graphic settings and stuff. So hopefully they will fix everything by the full game releases in October. So yeah, but DLSS performance on medium settings is a really playable experience. No complaints here. Alright, now let's go to low settings. and go TAA. So no DLAA, just TAA. We just need more FPS. TAA on low will get us pretty much similar to just previous settings on DLSS Performance Medium, but I think it's even better. So getting 140 at times, but pretty much staying above 130 FPS all the time, which is absolutely playable. High refresh rate experience right there. So no complaints here again. Really good experience. I'm getting a lot of kills in this stair section. Like there's a lot of people camping here, and I was getting a lot of kills here. That was good. You know, this is why I like this map. There's a lot of these close quarters combat, which gets me a lot of kills. You know what I mean? So yeah, pretty good performance. And you can see the CPU is, damn, it's just consuming 105 watts of power. So that's why it's 80 degrees Celsius right now. It barely goes above 100 watts of power usage in any game. But here you can see it's just consuming a lot. All right, so that's why it's 80 degrees Celsius. So now let's try DLSS Ultra Performance. Just go absolutely low on 1440p and absolute low DLSS Ultra Performance. We are getting 160 to 170 FPS. Woohoo! That's something. So 144 Hz monitor, if you have it, you can absolutely max it out and and get really smooth FPS, even hitting 180. So yeah, definitely playable. And you can see the CPU is using 110 watts of power at this point. Man, this game just eats up CPUs like breakfast. I hope they optimize the game even more, instead of just being super CPU intensive. But it's 64 players in a single map with a lot of shit going on, so it is expected. It uses a lot of CPU power. Just make sure your CPU is getting proper cooling, not like this, and you should be good. Yeah, this is the only game that's been killing my 9800X 3D like this, just cooking it straight up. All the other games has been really good. It stays well below 70 degrees Celsius most of the time. Except in this game, it's just, yeah, it's way too much. But yeah, that's 1440p settings. Really good on the lowest settings. Okay, now let's move on to 1080p. And go Ultra and TAA. So we're getting 100 plus FPS on TAA Ultra settings on 1080p. And yes, the blurriness is more visible now because it's 1080p, especially on a 4K monitor, And the CPU temp is 81 degrees Celsius and using 110 watts of power because it's 1080p. 1080p means it's more CPU bound compared to 1440p and 4K. So it's expected, Still using 350 watts of power. That's the craziest part. This card is like insanely power hungry, even on 1080p, but getting pretty solid FPS. Okay, now let's go to DLSS Quality Ultra on 1080p. Just gives us 130 plus FPS experience. Still pretty good. Staying above 130 FPS on 1080p. So if you have a 1080p monitor, you can just play the game like this on ultra settings. With a 3080 Ti. And I would not go below ultra settings because the game looks pretty good visually with all those particles and explosions and everything. The game looks absolutely gorgeous. You actually feel like you're in a war with the settings maxed out, even on 1080p. So I'd play like this if I had a 3080 Ti and a 1080p monitor. So yeah, solid performance again. Still cooking the CPU, obviously. And the 14% FPS, the 0.1% lows, it's usually when you respawn, when you spawn in to a point, the game just lags a little bit. That's the only reason why the 0.1% lows are like that low. Otherwise, the game is like super solid. Okay, now let's go to high. Okay, now let's go to DLSS performance on medium settings. Because why not? We are on 1080p anyway, so if you're playing this game on 1080p with a 3080 Ti, you are kind of a sweaty player, let's face it, you want the absolute best FPS possible with some visual fidelity. So medium settings still gets you that, you know. And 160 plus FPS. Great. Super responsive and smooth gameplay. No complaints, even going above 180 FPS in this map. So yeah, absolutely great on 1080p medium DLSS performance. Okay, last but not least, let's go absolutely low. So DLSS Ultra Performance low on 1080p. We are crossing 200 FPS. Yes, so you can definitely get 200 plus FPS experience with the 3080 Ti in Battlefield 6 if you go 1080p and absolute low settings with the 9800X 3D. And holy shit, we are getting close to 120 watts of power usage on the CPU. That is the most I've ever seen the CPU use ever on any game. It usually stays below 80 watts of power. I'm not kidding, I've never seen this before. And that's why it's at 84 degrees Celsius. It's just getting cooked. This game just cooks your CPU no matter what it is. You know, the 3080 Ti is still around 90% usage, so it's not CPU bound completely, but still it's using 50 to 60% of the CPU. Ah, man, this thing just destroys any CPU, isn't it? But yeah, you're able to get 200 plus FPS, so if you are a really sweaty player, this is the setting to go. The game still looks pretty fine. I know it's a lot more blurrier, absolutely, but definitely playable, and you get the absolute smoothest experience ever. So no complaints there. So that'll be it for 3080 Ti benchmark on the Battlefield 6 beta. We will be doing more benchmarks and everything when the actual game comes out, but for now that's gonna be it on 3080 Ti. So let me know your comments and thoughts in the comment section. Subscribe for more videos like this, and I hope you guys are having a great time wherever you are. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.